how do you personally show mercy in your lives?
So, kind of a real life thing for me is I have a neighbor, her name is Mary, she lives downstairs from me, and she has this really tumultuous relationship with her ex-husband who moved to Florida. I live in Pennsylvania. And her husband doesn't pick up her calls. And so she started asking me if she can use my phone to call her husband. And at the beginning, I was like, yeah, sure, you know, go for it. And I was like thinking that this is a great way to extend mercy to her. And it felt good for the first few weeks. And then I started realizing that it's a really complex relationship. That I started asking myself questions like, am I hurting this relationship by giving her my cell phone? And so that launched me into trying to investigate what this relationship is like and really how to use wisdom in reaching out to her, because it wasn't as simple as I thought. Mercy sometimes is complicated, and sometimes you have to work through it, and you have to be prayerful, and you have to look for wisdom and things like that. It's not just as simple as extending your resources. So that's one of the tangible real life things. I guess outside of that, I'm more involved in New Brunswick, and if some of you went to Rutgers, you know a little bit about New Brunswick, but New Brunswick has, I think, one of the most complex homeless problems in Central Jersey, and that's kind of where I'm getting involved in terms of sheltering and providing resources and networks for the homeless. So I guess that's one at home and kind of one through ministry outside.
I guess in many ways, yeah, I don't know how to answer that question in some ways because you know, as I'm a pastor in the inner city, I guess in many ways a lot of the relationships that I have could be categorized that way, but I don't think about it that way necessarily. You know, so when I visited somebody who was in jail, I'm visiting a friend, and somebody that I've had a relationship with for a while, and I'm also representing their families and looking out for them, and just walking with people in all of the ups and downs. So yeah, you know, it's part of everyday life, and as the Lord has put us in contact with different people who are hurting and people who are going through different things in life, but seeking to maybe in the sense that, you know, kind of resisting this urge to not get involved, but rather, you know, just getting myself involved and caring about what other people are going through, and seeking to be a servant of the Lord in that situation in any way, and being a friend and you know, somebody who can remind people of the gospel. But of course that also leads to different things, and then you start to get other issues, like housing issues come up, and you know, welfare comes up, and you know, education, what's going on in our schools come up, and so these are not just like theories, but rather this is like real life people that are in my life. So so I guess that those are the things that, you know, perhaps, you know, I don't think about it that way, but is mercy.
I can relate to what you're saying as far as not necessarily feeling like mercy, because I think I do volunteer as much as I can, which is not very often right now, at a place called Dawn's Place, and the women that I've met there, I feel like they teach me as much as probably more than I can teach them or show them. But they, you know, they all came from the streets at some point and were addicted to drugs at some point. And I think for me right now, it's kind of just being there when I can, because I am in school and I work I work part-time, I'm in school full-time. So part of it is even just trying to prepare well. And my job right now is actually in foster care, so that is an interesting chance to just get to know some little kids that are in a difficult place and get to know some of their birth parents and the people that they're living with. And I think in a lot of ways, to me, mercy maybe just looks like trying to love people and trying to know them.
Well, for me, I think these days I'm looking at things a little differently. I probably have like 30 years, as old as most of you are alive, being involved in mercy and compassion ministry from urban centers like New York and Native American cultures, international. And these days, I'm really looking at what I did in that environment was it always helpful or not, you know? And so I think when you look at even like Dave's story, to really help somebody or help a culture, it's a very, very complex issue. And to know how to do that in a way where it doesn't hurt the people or yourself, a great book that's out now. Again, I just use a Haiti experiences. If you were to drive through Haiti, it's about 15 months or so after the earthquake, and there's still about 1 million people not living in tents, but just under taped together tarps on sticks of wood and things like that. It's about 1 million people. It's just in a population of about 9 million people. So you go there and you drive around and say, wow, this is heartbreaking. How could this be? What can I do to help? And then you realize it is an extremely complex issue. Well, let's just build a bunch of houses. And now what we've done is we've just built a bunch of ghettos. And if we give away a bunch of houses, we've just created this giant welfare system. And, you know, so it's a very, very interesting world. Today, I think the role I play more is or the phrase we use is pulling leaders together to do things together for exponential results. And so, I think that kind of environment, it just takes a lot of different heads, a lot of people with different kind of expertise, anything from church planting to people involved in education. There's people that do, you know, sensible housing. But if we can pull people together around any purpose, we can be better for that. And so that's kind of the role I'm playing these days in a lot of different ways through the New York City Leadership Center. That is kind of what we do, whether it's church planting or leadership development. It's how do we get people together so that we can team up to do something we absolutely couldn't do on our own.